Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House with the meek, fence-sitting Charles Coulombe. That's what one guy called you after watching your video on the SSPX.
Really?
Yeah.
Fence-sitting. That must be painful.
Yeah. Pero Etzer... what's that?
Itzegovach.
Okay.
Itzegovach.
Okay, yeah. That guy, he wrote this. Quote, "It seems to me that the interviewee enjoys sitting on the fence.
Ooh.
I'm pretty bored with such meek Catholics. Smells of feminized Catholicism. No wonder the Roman Catholic Church is dying a painful death in North America." Okay, so you're bored, you're meek, you're feminine, you enjoy sitting on the fence, and you're killing the Catholic Church in North America.
That's quite an accomplishment to do all by myself. And I'm still reeling from enjoying sitting on the fence. That sounds really painful. You know, it's not something a hemorrhoid sufferer really wants to think about.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, see. I don't know about meek. Well, the meek shall inherit the earth.
That's true.
So, yeah, okay, I'll go with meek. Fence sitting, as I say, sounds very painful. What are the other two?
Feminine?
Well, I really don't know about that. I'm trying to, be a little dainty. No, well, gosh, feminine. Well, I'm not the best judge of that, I guess. Nobody ever said to call me feminine in the military. I wonder. Well, who knows? What else we got?
What else did he call it? Boring?
Boring?
Yeah.
Well, that too is a matter of opinion. Maybe, I don't know. I'd be the worst judge of whether or not I'm boring. What else you got?
And you're killing the Catholic Church in North America.
Oh, it's doing a good enough job without me. It doesn't really need me. So what's he gonna do about it?
What's he gonna do about it? Nothing. He just comments and says you're bad.
Okay, well, have a nice day. No, I don't know what he wants. I guess he wants me to either condemn the SSPX as evil schismatics or praise them as the one and only salvation of the church. No.
Take a stand, Charles.
Okay, I'll take a stand. If you think the SSPX is either one of those things, you're a boob. Is that enough of a stand for you?
Wow.
Let me put this another way. I hate to single you out as a person, but you're the only one I can see.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right. Are you a good person?
Yes.
Oh, so you're sinless. That's nice. Are you an evil person?
No.
No.
What?
Oh, I don't know about that. Your confessor might think something differently. You're a mixed person is what you are. Kind of like everybody else.
I'm sincere, though.
Well, that means even less than anything else. I mean, gosh, if the idea that sincerity is in and of itself a virtue.
I'm trying my best, Charles.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's all God asks. Right? Do your best.
Okay, fine. That's all I'm doing too, and we're good. We're good. No, I mean honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if what Mr. Itzegovach wants is a clear declaration regarding the SSPX, I have no clear declaration to make. See, there are two words that I brought up during the SSPX episode that I want to remind you of. Now, at the time, I mentioned that they're really best suited for clerics. Ultra vires. Okay? That means beyond your power. Well, I pointed out that bishops and popes and priests do a lot of ultra vires things these days. But so do laymen. It's true. If you tell me you're a Catholic and you believe all four of the four creeds a Catholic is supposed to believe, that's because most of us don't know at least half of them. Apostles, Nicene, Athanasian, and Pius IV or Tridentine. If you believe those four, then you're a Catholic. All right? It's just the way it is. I have no control over that. I may not like you. I may think you've done some stupid things. I may think all sorts of stuff. But if you believe the four creeds, you accept the papacy, then you're a Catholic. I may think you're dead wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm afraid that God did not die and put Charles Coulombe in charge. Although he might have put Mr. Herzegovich in charge. That could be. Mr. Herzegovich, if you are in charge and you have the ability to excommunicate or reconcile and all that with the plenitude of your apostolic power, do me a favor. Make everything good, please. Please. Otherwise, don't know what to tell you. Okay, what else we got?
Okay, well, so how was your day?
My day. Well, I'm another year older as of yesterday.
Yes, congratulations.
2 years ago. Thank you. Thank you. I'm now 57 glorious years old. 60 is already making improper advances toward me. Yeah, I know, it's awful. But it's more than just my birthday.
Okay. What
Tomorrow is November 11th.
Okay. November 11th.
The 11th day of the 11th hour.
11th day of the 11th hour. Wait, I'm missing something here.
It's Armistice Day, Veterans Day, Remembrance Day.
There you
Hence
go.
the poppy.
Of
In
course.
Flanders fields the poppies grow between the crosses row on row. This, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is the day that we commemorate the dead of World War I and the subsequent wars, the preceding wars. And in this country, veterans of all kinds. But that's not all. There's an even more important festival tomorrow.
What?
St. Martin's Day, Martinmas, the Feast of St. Martin. So eat goose and drink vino tomorrow.
That's the custom?
It is the custom. Now they also have these, in Germany and Austria and all that, the kids will go out on St. Martin's night with lanterns. They have these processions singing, and very often they'll have somebody dressed like a Roman soldier, like St. Martin was, riding a horse. This is a big deal. In this part of the world, the only people who really do that are either German clubs or Waldorf schools. But anyway, that's Martinmas.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If
you remember the song Barbara Allen, it had the line in it, "'Twas down about the Martinmas, the green leaves were falling," when Sir John Graham in the West Country fell in love with Barbara Allen. This doesn't mean anything to you.
No.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't worry about it. What else we got?
Okay, before we start the questions, I have a special announcement.
Wow.
The boys at the top floor of the Tumler House building, they're going to kill me for doing this, but I don't care.
They won't do it on screen.
No. We are going to do a special promotion on all of Charles's books on TumlerHouse.com.
Wow.
Everyone who buys a book by Charles will have a signed version of it, autographed, by this man right here.
Wow. Wow, you're going to make me real busy. Or not. You didn't clear it with the suits?
I didn't clear it with the suits. This is, yeah.
So this is like all on your own initiative?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. If you see me with another partner to chat with next week, you'll know why.
Yeah, anyone who orders between now and the end of December, signed copies of all your Charles books that you order. Yeah, and if you're one of these Johnny-come-latelys, hasn't even read a Charles book yet.
Really?
Boy, have you hit the jackpot. Okay? Now's the time to pull the trigger and get while the getting's good. Okay?
All right, fine. I guess. So are there particular books you're pushing?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Every Man Today Call Rome. This is the book that put Charles on the map. as a powerhouse, as a force to be reckoned with.
I don't know about that, but I wrote it when I was 24, and it was written, actually, ladies and gentlemen, to explain to my classmates, none of whom went to Mass at that point, from Catholic high school, of course, what had gone wrong with the church and how they themselves, why they should lead Catholic lives and stand up for the faith, and how to do it. So it's my first baby, and I'm still very proud of it.
Another book, Desire and Deception, How Catholics Stop Believing. What is this book about, Charles?
About 230 pages long. Sorry. No, it is actually a history of the idea of baptism of desire and how it started out as a theological notion and ended up allowing the vast majority of Catholics to disbelieve in the necessity of the church and the sacraments for salvation. For the vast majority of Catholics do not believe those things are necessary, which has had its effect on everything. As Benedict XVI has said, it not only has destroyed our missionary impulse, it has also removed any reason to be Catholic. And that explains a lot, because being Catholic is like being a member of the Garden Club, or the Elks. There are a lot of other organizations that do that kind of a job a lot better, And you don't have to pay money and be respectful to a bunch of louts either.
You don't dare to hope all men be saved?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I blame our Lord for saying that the way to heaven is difficult and few there are that find it.
Yeah, he said that multiple times.
Yeah, he did. In different ways, too.
In different ways.
Of course, what he was trying to say, never mind. I always get a kick out of priests in the pulpit,
Mm-hmm.
What Jesus is trying to say, he's the Logos, the Lord of language. Ladies and gentlemen, if Jesus didn't know what he was saying, not trying, saying, then I don't think anybody does. Certainly not a cleric who pretends to.
No, it wasn't a calculation that people go to hell. It's an admonition to do good. At least that's what one fella told me.
Yeah, okay, well, that's good.
All right, our last book by Charles, The Pope's Legion, published by Macmillan. Wow. See this blurb on the front cover? Like an Indiana Jones movie, the Pope's Legion starts moving from the get-go and doesn't stop until the very last. National Catholic Register said that.
Wow.
That's a big time right there, right?
Well, yeah, it does, but I don't know how I feel about Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford's looking kind of like a wreck now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even watch that last one, Crystal Skull or whatever.
No?
No.
Well, it's because you dislike Shia LaBeouf.
Well, there's that too, yeah.
See? That's right. But this is a book, ladies and gentlemen, that I highly recommend, not just because I wrote it, but because it is the story of heroism. The part of young men from all over the world who went to fight for the Pope between 1860 and 1870. They were an extraordinary bunch of men. Nothing in English of this extent had been written since the 19th century when I sat down to write it. And I was just grateful to be able to give a voice to the voiceless. So if you want to see an example of Catholic manhood in action, as opposed to the feminine stuff Mr. Herzegovich was interested in,
Yeah.
Get this book. This is Catholic manhood.
One of the important reasons I think to read this book is, how come we don't know the stories of real life heroes, Catholic heroes, really? And compared to, we know all the superheroes.
Superman,
Batman,
Aquaman,
but
Wonder Woman.
Books like Pope's Legion and Chivalry.
Yep.
Why is it we don't know any real life knights, any real life Catholic heroes? Why is that?
Well, because we live in a non-Catholic society, and anything with Catholic heroes is a bad thing. And those of us Catholics who are successful enough to determine this kind of thing are precisely the kind of Catholics for whom this sort of heroism is embarrassing. If I spent most of my career selling out my Catholic faith for the sake of personal advantage, the last thing I want to hear about is a bunch of people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for the Catholic faith.
Right.
I mean, that's like going up to JFK and saying, "Wow, think of Emperor Charles I going into exile for the sake of his people and his faith."
They don't want to hear it.
No, well, certainly JFK wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, he might have, maybe, but certainly Teddy would not have.
No.
He couldn't even go back to rescue. Never mind, I'm not going to start on that.
Ooh. And some of you diehard Charles fans out there that are in the know, you're probably wondering, whoa, you're missing a book. This man just wrote a book that's going to be published by Tan Books.
That's right.
Catholic Quest for the Holy Grail. It's on pre-order right now from Tan Books. I think the release date is November 15th. So you can pre-order from them if you want to. Tumblr House will eventually be selling it for $25. And when you do buy it from us, you will get the signed version of it.
You will.
So, and it's not just these books. I mean, we left out some of your books: Puritan's Empire, Victors of Christ, White Cockade, and all the Charles
Star-Spangled
books.
Crown.
Star-Spangled Crown. See, I can't even. Yeah.
Can't forget that one.
Can't forget that one. All of these books will be signed. You order 8 Charles books, 8 signatures.
But mind you, I'm not going to include much of a message. You'll get my name and the date.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Unless you know me. But if you do know me, if you've met me, here's the challenge. You'll have to put in a little note reminding me where we met. Don't think I can remember.
Okay.
I'm going to get some real strange things now. Dear Mr. Coulombe, you remember when we ran into each other at the playground in Portland, Maine? No.
Well, I'm the one who has to filter that out. You're not going to even have to deal with this now.
Well, there's that. Okay. So if you're still here.
If I'm still here? Oh, yeah, if they don't kill me. Yeah, the boys at the top floor.
Gosh. To say nothing of the chicks in the secretarial pool.
Yeah, and so lastly, it goes without saying, any questions submitted to us that references any of Charles's books will be asked on the show.
Sooner or later.
Sooner or later. So keep on sending in those questions. All right, let's start off with questions, shall we?
Okay, sure. What do we got?
We've got 2 questions on Disney.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are.
Okay.
All right.
One question's serious, one's not so serious.
Maybe the not so serious first. I like those more.
Oh, okay. Amadon writes in saying, Mickey Mouse is only dressed from the waist down, whereas Donald Duck is only dressed from the waist up. What are your thoughts?
Between them, they can only afford a single suit.
That's true.
Disney probably didn't pay them very well.
Oh, no. Well, Robert Barron?
Yeah. The sweatshop worker, everybody knows that. Why do you think they call Disneyland mouse sweats?
Oh, no.
No, I mean, people who work there call it that.
Oh, okay.
So you think if the human beings get off that badly, what are the cartoon characters are going to get?
That's true.
They probably have to take turns as to who wears what.
It's a rough life.
I'm not kidding. Especially being a cartoon character. Gosh.
All right. The serious question is from Henry Patak.
Okay.
He says, I would like to ask Charles if he could shed some much-needed clarity on the legacy and work of Walt Disney. It seems that since his death, he's been written off as everything from a 33rd degree Freemason to an employer of known pedophiles to a Satanist to anti-Semitic. Please insert hand puppet blah 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 motion here if appropriate.
It sure is.
I grew up watching his show, and it's difficult for me to imagine that a man with such a keen sense of what normal, healthy children enjoy would be a knowing shill and accomplice in their undoing. How much legs does the current vilification campaign of the man actually have? Might it be in some way connected to his staunch anti-communism, or perhaps an occasional offhanded comment about his Jewish competitors in Hollywood?
Well, let me say that I am so old, I can remember when Uncle Walt introduced the show himself. That's how old I am.
Wow.
Walt was still alive. This is something I've actually given a lot of thought to in the past few weeks, believe it or not. Why, you ask? Well, because of my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Because Disney was a big part of my growing up, the way as everybody in my generation. What I would say about Walt Disney is that his faults and his virtues were, not unlike Ronald Reagan, those of the country itself. You know, was he a Freemason? Yeah, very probably. He was a big joiner. In fact, he belonged to the LA Breakfast Club, as I do myself.
Ooh.
And, as did Ronald Reagan, so you see. And Freemasonry in this country, well, it's as American as apple pie. Every American's a Freemason, ideologically.
Mm-hmm.
The way every Italian is a Catholic.
Right.
Not all Italians believe the Catholic faith.
Right.
But culturally, they are Catholic. For all the good it does them. But their attitudes are Catholic. Well, that's how Americans are vis-a-vis Freemasonry. It's our state religion, our established faith. And what does that mean, really? Well, what it means is conduct above creed. It doesn't matter what you believe so long as you're a nice person. We're all into that. It's the four chaplains, that went down in the Dorchester. One rabbi and two ministers and a priest, or two priests and a minister. Or the Cathedral of the Pines in Rindge, New Hampshire. The tomorrow's celebrations, that'll be all interfaith.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a part of of the American psyche.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we're all good men, good people, pulling together, blah blah blah. That's the essence of revealed Freemasonry. That's its message. Now, from a Catholic perspective, of course, it's horrible. Having said that, it's what we are. It's what we grew up with. And it is what it is. It's like if we were in Japan, we'd be heavily influenced by Shinto. If we were in India, we'd be heavily influenced by Hinduism. So let me return to Reagan and Disney. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Midwesterners who had great dreams came out to California and made those dreams reality. A bit over the top sometimes. Another good example of people like that, Dr. Hubert Eaton, the founder of Forest Lawn, the Disneyland of death.
Of course.
Of course, but stop and think. A Midwesterner comes out here with unlimited stuff, is able to make his dream a reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's the Disneyland of death. Clifford Clinton, Clifton's Cafeterias, which you possibly don't remember, but really over the top in decor and all that. Disneyland for eating.
I remember it. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. And you won't be shocked to know that Disney, Dr. Eaton, and Clifford Clinton were pals.
Okay.
See?
There you go.
So, and Reagan was very much cut from that cloth. Objectively speaking, there's an awful lot that's terribly wrong with that. Subjectively speaking, it's better than anything we're ever likely to encounter again. You could say, for instance, specifically, Disney's dealing with legendary material and fairy tales, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say, on the one hand, he homogenized it, gutted it, made it kind of bland, blah, 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 blah. You know what? You're right. You can also say he stimulated a couple generations' imagination, got them to look at things with a sense of wonder and awe.
Absolutely.
And you'd be right. You see, these two things are seemingly contradictory, but they're not. They're the same. That was Disney. And his imagination was wide-ranging. If you look at now, and I have to distinguish, of course, between Disney before the family were forced out and Michael Eisner came in.
Right.
After. People say to me, well, Disneyland's all pro-gay. I'm so old, I remember when they got into a big fight because they wouldn't allow same-sex couples to dance at high school proms at Disneyland. That's how old I am. But, of course, the people that run the Disney company now are part of the mainstream that are dominant in this country. And that's, they are what they are. But having said that, Uncle Walt was definitely, on the one hand, a product of his place and time with all those failings, but on the other, a tremendous, as he would have put it, Imagineer. And I mean, yeah, he was certainly out to make a buck. It was a business,
Of course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what my query asks is quite true. He always says is quite true. He knew kids, he knew what they liked, and he liked entertaining them. And for what it is, it's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. I was captivated. The Magical Kingdom.
Yeah.
Disney. It was awe-inspiring, and I remember. I don't know when Michael Eisner. It felt like early '90s he came in, or around there. Or when,
Well, 92, I think.
yeah, I could tell. I was like, who is this Joker? And it lost that certain feeling. These movies, it lost that.
Well, it went from being a profitable way of entertaining kids to a mere business.
Right.
And, it acquired a kind of cynical edge to it. I mean, now so many of the new Disney films, my personal hobby horse to dislike is Malevolent or Maleficent or whatever it is. But I don't really care to see them. But you look back at the ones that had Uncle Walt's vision.
Right.
And the same, with the rides at Disneyland. I'm always annoyed because every few years they have to retool Pirates of the Caribbean to make it more politically correct.
Right. I mean, the political correctness has destroyed some of what made Disney great. The biggest one that I thought of that comes to my mind is the infamous Song of the South. You people at home might know the song Zippity Doo Dah.
Zippity Doo Dah, that's right.
I always felt that song was at the heart of the awe-inspiring and magic of the Disney world.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, why is this not on, when I was young, I always wondered, why is this not on television? Why is this nowhere to be found? And it's because the political correctness of society said, no, we cannot abide this, I guess you'd call Uncle Remus in there, the magic Negro.
Yeah.
I loved Uncle Remus.
Sure. Well, so did the kids. The thing you got to bear in mind is that, like all of Disney stuff, it was taken from another thing. In this case, the writings of Joel Chandler Harris. And he wrote these Uncle Remus stories, which he had heard as a boy from a black guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Uncle Remus is fictionalized, but that in the Disney movie, the kids come to Uncle Remus because their own families are screwed up.
Right.
And the phrase you use, Magic Negro, that's a very interesting one, ladies and gentlemen, because it has become a regular motif since then.
Yeah.
In literature. You'll see it in Stephen King. Morgan Freeman has made a bundle playing the Magic Negro.
He is the Magic Negro.
He's the Magic Negro. Now, what is the Magic Negro, you ask? Well, you don't rub its belly and make a wish, no. The Magic Negro is a black character who's very wise and knowing as opposed to the schlubbish whites around who don't know what's going on. And, it's the idea that somehow the black man is more in touch with reality than the white man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some areas perhaps where that's true, or not. But nevertheless, it's become a regular motif in literature. You'll certainly see it, as I say, in Stephen King.
The one that I first encountered the term was The Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith and Matt Damon. That was a golfing movie, and sort of that was set during 1920s, around there. And Matt Damon lost his golfing swing in Savannah, Georgia, and Will Smith just sort of comes out of the wilderness and helps him find his, and he's got all this folksy wisdom.
Yeah, this is a Magic Negro.
I liked it. I liked the character.
He's a Magic Negro. I mean, it's like the old black lady in The Stand, in Stephen King's The Stand. Or in The Shining, the black hotel man.
Oh, the black hotel man, yeah.
Who helps the kid develop his psychic abilities, and in the end comes to his rescue.
Yeah, well.
I mean, he gets killed. Nevertheless, because he sacrifices himself, the kid Now you can say, well, that's you can say one of two things. You can say the Magic Negro is terrible because he makes whites look bad, or you can say he's terrible because he makes blacks unrealistic. You know, you can do it. You can play that game any way you want. My suggestion, ladies and gentlemen, is write your own piece of literature. Make your own film. Yeah. Put all that creativity you've obviously got to use and do something on your own.
It's so hard, though.
I know, you give a call. But don't annoy people who are enjoying what they're enjoying. Leave that alone. You know, there are a lot of things in popular entertainment I don't care for. But if it's not mixed with porn, and it's not calling for the consumer of said product to kill somebody, I don't have to like it. It's not my problem. You know, I've had, I'm thinking now of, what's its face, Harry Potter.
Okay. Oh, right.
I've read the books, I've seen the movies, they're entertaining. I've had people say to me, well, they're not Tolkien. Well, no, they're not Tolkien. They're not great literature. You know, and Tolkien's not a tale of two cities, for which Tolkien can be grateful. But, what? But, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to get a grip. It's funny how we human beings are, you know. We will, as our Lord put it, strain at gnats and swallow camels. That's how we are. We'll get ourselves all ready to murder somebody over minor things. But gigantic questions of principle, oh, well, it's not that important. You know, who really cares about that anyway? So usually, not always, but usually there's a direct connection between how much we're able to affect something and how outraged we get. The less that we're required to actually do, the more outraged.
Mm-hmm.
The more we have to do, the more we're willing to let it slide.
Of course.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean we're lazy slugs.
Yeah, it does.
That's hate speech right there.
No, I'm promoting equality.
You just committed hate speech right in front of our audience.
I'm promoting equality. We're all lazy slugs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is me being so upset I can barely say anything. So filled with rage and anger.
The most you can do is helplessly flail?
Yep. That's pretty much it. Oh, I'm so mad. Now, mind you, something I could do, like, I don't know, give a buck to a bum. It's not a problem, really.
Oh.
No. All right. But anyway, so there we are with Disney. Let's move on.
Okay, next question is from Lawrence Lanigan. My question concerns Sedevacantism, or rather the recognize and resist position adopted by many traditional Catholics who oppose the idea of a papal vacancy. What do you think about Father Anthony Cicada's position that such a strategy is irreconcilable with Church's teaching about papal authority and obedience to it?
I'm sorry, what was the question? No. Okay. Recognize and resist, I presume, because I have to admit I'm not familiar with the term. I presume that by that they mean recognize that the current Holy Father is Pope, and nevertheless resist his rather peculiar ways of dealing with things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know to what Father Cicada refers. I know that people have in fact recognized and resisted wild popes down through history.
Mm-hmm. Is that a good strategy or no?
It's what Catholics do.
It's what.
I mean, I don't know.
Is that what you do?
Well, I'm not in a position to resist, am I? What am I supposed to do? Do you think the Pope calls me and wants to know what I think? That's not true. He doesn't give a damn if I live or die. So why should I think my opinion's going to matter to him?
It's true.
We have an inflated view of ourselves. But
you resist mentally. You don't give in to certain wiles.
Yeah, I certainly, when he says stupid stuff, I admit that it's stupid. I mean, you know, when the Holy Father goes on about the Neo-Pelagians, and somehow neglects to notice that that really covers the vast majority of Catholics today, including possibly himself. I mean, what am I supposed to do but laugh? But I don't see that that's resistance. I don't see that it's anything. I mean, some years ago, a group of people, when John Paul II was Pope, because of Assisi and some other things he'd gotten up to, they put together a paper and said, "We resist you to your face."
Who did that?
A group of Catholics. Some of them were friends of mine, so I'm not going to bag on them too much.
Oh, no names?
No names. I'm not going to bag on friends. I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm a fence sitter. I'm meek. Anyway, but nevertheless, what got me about it was the sheer hubris. We resist you to your face. Who cares?
Yeah. I know it's always, I've seen other people, an open letter to Pope Francis. These open letters are always the nastiest thing you ever read. I mean, you'd never ever say that to the actual person.
Well, no, and what makes you think he's going to read it?
Yeah.
So what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
I mean, look, we know that the Holy Father is a very brutal individual in terms of the way he deals with his underlings.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he's got a very poor grasp of language and theology and liturgy. And I'm not being unkind when I say that. He's a product of his time.
Yeah.
See, that generation of clerics were badly formed.
Right.
They were very awful as priests in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They were terrible as bishops in the 80s and 90s and zeros. Why should one of them be good as a pope?
Yeah.
How would that suddenly happen? How can you expect the Holy Father to have what he didn't start out with? I mean, we are all products of our time. This too shall pass. I mean, the younger priests, the seminarians I see, all over the place, not just in this parish, this diocese or that order, but as a general rule, they're pretty excellent. The appointments that the Holy Father makes tend to be on the elderly side, because those are the only people he can find that agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to pillage the old age homes to find that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, my concern is to, of course, correct misconceptions when they come up. And if someone asks me, well, the Holy Father says this and that, is it true? Well, if it's not, I have to say it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, my major concern has to be saving my soul and helping those around me to save their souls.
But that involves looking interiorly, and it's so much more fun to look outwardly at everyone else.
Look homeward, angel. Yeah, I'm sure it is. And, you feel very excited, you get very angry, and you get the emotions going, and the adrenaline flows. It's great. It even makes sitting on the fence feel not so bad. But, honestly, it's kind of pointless. I mean, I've always thought about Sedevacantism that it was wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because it creates an image of the papacy that isn't real. Of popes who are not popes, but oracles at Delphi. They're always right, and they're always good, and they're always just. And that's not what history reveals. History reveals as wide a variety of popes as there are people. And it is our fortune or otherwise to have the pope we have. Is it my personal opinion that he's a blessing to the church? No. But you might look at him as a punishment.
And as you say, he's what we deserve.
He's what we deserve. Yeah. I mean, of course, contrary-wise, we may be what he deserves. oh, sorry. In fact, he may deserve the Sedevacantists and the resist and recognize the resist crowd. See, if I were going to write an open letter to the Holy Father, I would simply say, Your Holiness, my late father used to say, when you're stupid, bad things happen.
Okay, why would you tell him that?
Share some of my dad's wisdom, that's all.
Oh, okay. Okay, next question is from Marcelo from Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, la belle Provence! Mon pays ancestral. Restaurant toujours brave, français canadien. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Okay, he says, I would like to ask Mr. Coulombe if he could comment on the role of Masonry on both the French and American revolutions.
I could. What's next? Well, this goes back to what I said earlier. Masonry is an interesting thing. It's not monolithic. There are a lot of variations within Masonry. But the one thing all Masons have in common is conduct over creed. That's the big thing. Whatever secret teachings they have are precisely that, secret. And the only way I would know is if I were a member of the order, and I'm not. So I've read things that purport to tell us what they believe, and those things may very well be true. I don't know, because I've never taken the oaths, so they haven't been revealed to me. But I do know this. In Protestant countries, of which this is one, Freemasonry has always been part of the establishment since the 1600s, 1700s. So in American history, it is very much an upholder of American institutions. In the history of the British Commonwealth, it's been very much an upholder of Commonwealth institutions. They're the same in Scandinavia, the Netherlands, and so on. But in Catholic countries, it has been an agency of revolution. Because the views of the lodge make perfect sense. Conduct over creed connects integrally with Protestantism's private judgment. You see, and if it's all private judgment, well then, unless we're going to kill each other over it, we have to get along. So as long as we're both nice people and we pay our taxes, we can get along. And here's an organization we can belong to, which will improve us as men and give us deep secret wisdom that no one knew without, being a member and stuff. Then we get to wear interesting costumes and swear very strange oaths. All right. But in Catholic countries, that very thing was a solvent on society. The idea that it didn't matter what you believe. Because Catholic societies were organized with the idea that it does matter very much. It matters so much that it's even a matter of interest to the state. Literally a question of heaven or hell.
Yeah.
The argument may be made that the modern world is Masonic to a great degree in the sense that the United States is Masonic, culturally.
Right.
Now, as far as the role it played in the French Revolution, the American Revolution, well, it's quite a bit. For starters, most of the higher British officers in Boston were members of the Masonic Lodge. It was the same lodge that Dr. Warren and people like that, Paul Revere, belonged to. And so it's whispered that a lot of British military secrets got passed on to that lodge. Whether or not that's true, of the major generals in the Continental Army, all except one were Master Masons or above. One was not a Master Mason, though he was a Mason.
Who is that?
Benedict Arnold.
Okay.
We felt kind of left out. So, but you will find Masons on both sides of any conflict in the English-speaking or the Protestant world, because they're so much a part of the establishment. French Revolution, a large part of the establishment were Masonic. The Masonic lodges had gotten established. But again, it's very important to bear in mind that there were even conflicts between lodges.
Interesting.
Some were of a more Catholic bent, others of a less so. And those of the less sort became dominant after the French Revolution. But I mean, even someone like Joseph de Maistre, who was the great Catholic theoretician before the French Revolution, was a member of the Masonic Lodge. And of course, the reason why Benjamin Franklin got such a hearing at the French court was because he belonged to the same lodge as a number of senior officials.
Star Spangled Crown by Solange Hertz. Really touched.
Star-Spangled Heresy.
Star Spangled Heresy. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Star Spangled Heresy by Solange Hertz. Not Star Spangled Crown, that's your book.
Yes.
Star Spangled Heresy by Solange Hertz. She has an excellent chapter on the Freemasonry of Ben Franklin. He actually had to, muscle Freemasonry to accept him.
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, he was an interesting guy. He was a member of the Hellfire Club while he was in England. He had a ton of illegitimate kids. I guess he figured if he wanted to be a founding father, he'd have to play the role literally. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, what else we got?
Okay, Joshua from Australia asks, why didn't nations like Canada and Australia have a revolution like America did in the 18th century? Was it because Canada and Australia were better governed than America?
Well, yes and no. Firstly, Australia didn't exist until 1788, when the first settlement. And for the first 30 or 40 years of its existence, it was a convict colony, prison colony. So, they were simply happy not to have been hung. Later on, they would develop a local oligarchy, but having learned from their mistake in America, the British took it under their wing, as it were. With Canada, it was a bit different because the 13 colonies had developed an oligarchy that eventually brought about independence for themselves. But in Quebec, such an oligarchy as there was with the Seigneurs, and they, loyalty to the crown, first the French and then the British, was at the very heart of what they were supposed to be. And there was, of course, also the Quebec Act, which gave the French Canadians their language, religion, and laws. So there's no reason for them to revolt.
Yeah.
The few English that were present, the few Anglophones, were merchants.
Yeah.
And they were dependent upon the mother country for security. The real beginning of Anglo-Canada were the waves of Americans who fled the Revolution to go there. But they were loyalists, so they weren't going to be revolting. So that's why.
How did, you said the oligarchy, the small oligarchy in Australia, that England satisfied them. They didn't make the same mistake. Well, what does that mean? They said.
Well, it meant they gave them responsible government pretty soon. That is in the Australian colonies, and then became the Australian states when it was federated in 1901. So they already were occupying a lot of recognized power. They were willing at an early time to settle for what was basically, rejected by Britain during the Revolution, which was the idea of a divisible crown. In other words, that the king could be king of Great Britain and king of the colonies as separate beings. Well, that came to be accepted by the British. So the Queen today is still Queen of Australia. But legally, that has nothing to do with her being Queen of Great Britain, except that they're the same person. Similarly with being Queen of Canada, Queen of New Zealand, and so forth.
I see. Okay. Both Benjamin Cruz and Devin von Krause want to know, what was the original purpose of the Holy Roman Empire, and did the Holy Roman Empire live up to it?
Well, the original purpose was to provide a lay arm for the defense of the Holy Roman Church. To provide in civil affairs what the Church provided for in religious affairs. Did it live up to it? No. The short version. However, the idea of a supranational government looking after things it inspired the Holy Roman Empire. It's in a secular version. It's inspired a lot of things since, from the United Nations, the European Union, to the OAS. And certainly part of the reason for modern popes' attraction to the idea is the notion that it was somehow a kind of revival of the Holy Roman Empire. But I don't think it can be. But we'll see.
Okay. Our last question today is from a gentleman named Kale. You're making me very interested in converting to Catholicism from Protestantism.
Well, thank you.
But as you're aware, the Catholic landscape today can be very confusing. There are lots of different camps that one can hunker down in. What are some steps that you would recommend I take to become Catholic in the right camp?
Cool.
Ultimately, I'm interested in having a good foundation for Catholicism in the sense that you know it. And he has follow-up questions, but let's just talk about this one first, the camp.
All right, well, the camps. What I would do if I were he, the first thing I would do, especially because it's a convert from Protestantism, is I would see whether or not there was an Anglican ordinariate parish near. A number of reasons for this, but that was my first preference if I were in his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then I would look to see where there might be a Latin Mass around. Not least because churches that host the Latin Mass generally are more prayerful and devotional and so on than those that don't. Failing that, I would look to see I'd look for a Novo Soto parish that had, amongst other things, perpetual adoration. I'd look up their choir's site and see whether or not they used Latin at all. That kind of thing. Now, failing that, the Eastern rites beckon.
Okay.
Now, if you're in an area where your choice is between the SSPX and tambourine players, and you've got a family, well, I don't think you really want to bring your kids to the tambourine players. Now, that may sound like fence sitting or meekness.
Yeah.
But the fact is that your first interest has to be your soul. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Not what other people say and so forth. There is no perfection in today's scene, but what you need is a place where you can get the faith, get the sacraments with a minimum amount of pain and bother.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so if they're malformed a little bit in terms of their relationship with the Vatican,
It's the price you pay.
that's the price you pay.
I mean, what's the alternative? Go to a place where your children will learn a distorted version of the faith just because they're in perfect communion with Rome? That's crazy. I mean, it's nuts.
Right.
One of the things that you can see if you go to Mass and you notice that the priests genuflect toward the tabernacle and people genuflect a lot and all that, the little things like that are also good giveaways.
Definitely. Okay, he had a couple follow-up questions. Is the modern catechism good, or should I read a different catechism first?
Yes, you should read a different catechism first. I would read the Catechism of the Council of Trent, or Roman Catechism, it's also called. After you've read it, then sit down with the Catechism of the Catholic Church and read that, because it does have an awful lot of good stuff in it that you could use. However, it does contradict on one or two basic points the Catechism of Trent. And obviously where it does contradict it, you have to ignore that that bit. But there's the Catechism of the Catholic Church addresses a lot of areas outside the immediate that the Catechism of Trent does not.
Okay.
And then after you read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, you might consider reading the Compendium of Social Teaching, which is a very good thing. But there too, you want to read it afterwards in conjunction with Pius XI's Quas Primas.
Okay.
So,
should I simply attend RCI at the largest church in my city?
well,
No.
I can't say that because I don't know what it's like.
Right.
So check it out. I mean, see if they push for the real presence. See if they're reverent at Mass. If everything is clapping and they're very desultory about showing reverence to our Lord, you don't want to go there.
Should I seek out a more traditional parish? How would I be able to tell if they are more traditional?
Well, I think I've touched on all that.
Yeah. Okay, and his final question is is there a reading path that you can set me on to get me up to speed?
Yes, there is. And in fact, I would recommend, I know you're going to say this is a plug, but I would recommend the bibliography in my first book.
Every Man Today Call Rome.
That's the one. You will see there, my view anyway, of the books that you ought to be reading.
Yeah. Eventually, we're going to put on the website combined bibliographies because you know we haven't really had the opportunity. Everyone's asking, what book should we read for this? What book should we read for that? And so we'll be working on it, and we're going to put up a master bibliography based on subjects on the website. So, and we'll let you guys know when that's ready.
All right, let me know too.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I feel both meek and a bit sleepy. I must have had a large meal.
You must have had a large meal, yeah. Well, you know, mid-afternoon is a good time to be laid back.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially in autumn.
In autumn.
Mid-afternoon. When, we know, ladies and gentlemen, Martinmas is coming up, and Thanksgiving and Advent. St. Andrew's for all you Scots out there. And then St. Nicholas's Day, particularly for us New Yorkers. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, can't you just feel the year waning away, draining you of energy? Just what was the question again?
We're done.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, remember, pray for the repose of the souls of the various veterans and so on you've known, for my native state of New York, for my current resident state of California, and for the Holy Father. Be sure to pray for him. He needs it.
Okay, we'll see you next time. And remember, if it's Monday, it's off the menu.
Ciao.